The Mariners have a defined type of pitcher, low arm slot righties. But now we have so little lefties in our organization that we just need more for our plan to go right in 2026. Welcome to the Dom Skiing Channel, your one-stop shop for the Mariners storylines on Seattle's minds. Today, we're talking all about the lefty relief options that the Mariners can go get in free agency and via trade. Today, I'm mostly going to be throwing out the list of names, looking anywhere and everywhere to get the list of names together. Then later on this offseason, as things progress, we're going to go deeper into each option. As the market narrows, as players get linked with the team. But I wanted to start out on this article that we covered yesterday, talking about how the Phillies are receiving a lot of calls on their three lefty relievers, Matt Strahm, Jose Alvarado, and Tanner Banks. And I suggested that we trade for Tanner Banks, being the least name kind of brand guy of these three. Team seeking, and from MLB Trade Rumors on the 15th of November, so 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, teams seeking lefty relief help don't have many free agent options. Gregory Soto is probably in line for the largest contract. He's a power arm, but has inconsistent command. He's allowed more than 4 earned runs per 9 in each of the past 3 seasons. Drew Pomeranz, Caleb Thielbar, Hobie Milner, Justin Wilson, Taylor Rogers, and Danny Kalum should be limited to 1-year deals based on their age. Sean Newcomb or Caleb Ferguson, Mariner this past year, could command a cheap 2-year deal, but aren't ideal high leverage options. We saw that in the playoffs with Ferguson. Steven Matz, Ryan Yarbrough, and Nippon Professional Baseball returnees Anthony Kay and Foster Griffin are swing types. And then they also bring up a few of the trade market options. It's a weak group, but which could lead teams to turn the trade market. The Cardinals are likely to move former Philly Jojo Romero. Again, this guy closed for part of last season in St. Louis when they got rid of Ryan Helsley. I think he could be a pretty decent option via trade. Then this one is even more interesting to me. Jojo Romero, by the way, going into his final season of arbitration, and will become a free agent next year, so wouldn't demand too much in the trade market. And then the Nationals, who are rebuilding themselves, could hear teams out on a grounder specialist, Jose A. Ferrer. Jose Ferrer is a guy that I really liked what he did once he stepped into that closer role in Washington as Kyle Finnegan got traded to the Tigers. So I think those are two pretty interesting options. Then the Rays are down to 2 years of control on Garrett Clevenger and would entertain offers probably, but they're going to have a huge asking price. Then they mentioned the teams that are looking, every contender could evaluate the bullpen market. The teams that specifically could use another lefty arm that they're mentioning are the Blue Jays, Giants, Mariners, Diamondbacks, and Cubs. So we're going to be competing with Blue Jays, Giants, Diamondbacks, Cubs for a lot of these relievers. Now, like they say, a lot of these guys are a little bit older. A lot of these guys aren't super trustworthy. A lot of them just might have good stats or have interesting stuff, but aren't great high leverage options like Caleb Ferguson. Looking at the pitchers we brought in this offseason. So obviously brought back Munoz with the club option exercise. So we got him for $6 million on the books this year. We have him for several more years on the books on options and stuff, which is great. First one we bring in was Cole Wilcox, acquired from the Rays for cash on November 5th. Get Ryan Ludos the next day, 27-year-old right-hander, claimed him off of waivers from the Nats. Then Randy Dobnak agrees to a minor league contract with no roster invite at spring training. Then you've got, we traded Tyler Gu, I'm not sure exactly how to say the name, for Robinson Ortiz. Then you've got Alex Hoppe, which we acquired from the Red Sox for catcher Luke Heyman. Robinson Ortiz, by the way, 26. Alex Hoppe, 27. So two 26-year-old righties and two 27-year-old righties acquired so far by the Mariners this offseason. And then you designate for assignment Gregor Santos, Trent Thornton, Taylor Saucedo. We have tons of righty options because that's our type. Our entire rotation fits that billing. Pretty much all of our minor league starters fit that billing. And the only left-handed pitchers that I can find in our organization right now, you got Gabe Spire, our contract killer, the guy that we put out there in these lefty situations. Robinson Ortiz, who we just acquired, projected to open the season on the opening day roster with us, particularly because he's the only other lefty we really have. Then after that, you go to AAA, you got Peyton Alford and Austin Kitchen. Then you go down deeper into the minors. You've got Reed Van Scooter, who's traditionally a starting pitcher. Same thing with Danny Werchansky, and both of them are in AA. You've got Brandon Schaefer, who's in Single A. Then you've got Mason Peters, who's in Single A as well. Jack White, also in Single A. So you've only got 9 lefty pitchers in this organization. You've got probably 50 or more righties overall. I mean, if we need a right-handed pitcher, we've got plenty of options. But lefties, we've got so few options. You know, after Gabe Spire, Robinson Ortiz, we're going to Peyton Alford, Austin Kitchen. I expect both of those guys probably to come up and have a shot at some point this year just to get into the bullpen. What they do with it remains to be seen. But then, you know, on the righty side, you got guys Andres Munoz, Matt Brash, Edward Pizarro, Carlos Vargas, Casey Legumina, Jackson Kowar, Emerson Hancock, Troy Taylor, Alex Hoppe, Ryan Ludos, Cole Wilcox, Domingo Gonzalez. Then, you know, that's just through AAA. You're going to have 12 total righties, 6 in the majors to start the year, 12 or 6 in AAA to start the year. Then, so you go to who we can actually get, right? Spend a long time talking about this, but who can we actually get this year? Well, starting out with this list of options, guys who might cost too much. I mean, Jordan Montgomery is a starting pitcher, probably going to get around $10 million. That's what Fangraphs is projecting. But he's also projected to put up a pretty decent WAR total because of that. You know, we're not going to go after Jordan Montgomery as a reliever. These guys are, I kind of list them as maybe, but probably too obvious. The Mariners do not go after obvious pitching options in the free agent market because we usually look to spend that money elsewhere. And I actually like this is a way that we chase value and we don't go after the obvious options and just do stuff that, you know, quote unquote makes the fans happy. Steven Matz, a guy who's probably going to get a decent amount of money. He's 35 years old. No projected contract on Fangraphs, but 35 years old, been in the majors for 10 years at this point. He's projected to put up a decent, 0.7 WAR total based on Fangraphs Steamer projections, which is the only projections that they have out yet. They put out their ZiPS projections closer to the year, which we'll be covering, but for now we're using those Steamer projections. So Steven Matz is an option, but probably too obvious. Gregory Soto, probably going to get a decent amount of money. His contract's probably going to get inflated because he's the biggest name of these lefty reliever options. And he himself is 31, actually on the younger side compared to most of the options we're going to be talking about today, which goes to show these lefty options usually emerge later in their careers because there's less of them, and the ones that there are start out as starting pitchers and then only become lefties once they get tweaked by some organization that knows what they're doing with them. And so we want to be that organization that's tweaking some of these starting pitchers into relief pitchers or something. But I don't expect us to go after obvious options here. Now, other options, Drew Pomerantz. This is a guy who had a pretty good year last year with Chicago Cubs, 37 years of age, 12 years in the majors so far. He's only projected to make $4 million this next year. I still think it's probably a little bit too obvious. And I think, you know, what the Cubs did with him was pretty nice. Lance Brozdowski released his free agent relief pitcher preview yesterday on Monday. And he said if he was, you know, Drew Pomerantz, he would ride off into the sunset. But he's probably going to get a contract somewhere because he did well last year. And there's so few options. Then you've got my last in this category, Hobie Milner. A guy, he's also projected to get $4 million. I think he's a little too obvious as well. 35 years of age. Projected to put up 0.3 WAR, projected to make that same amount of money at $4 million. Texas had him last year. I don't know. I don't think we're going to go after any of these obvious options. Some of these realistic options, guys, that we could get on less than $4 million deals. Justin Wilson is the first one. Projected to get 0.5 WAR in 2026. He is 38 years old, probably wants to contend. Pitched even better than his stats indicated in 2025. And I mean, this is a guy who could just come in and be a really solid veteran relief option. Now, if he comes into the year, we put him in a few situations, and he does poorly, we don't necessarily have a whole lot of known options to pivot to, which is why I expect a lot of these interesting lefty options in the organization to get a chance in spring training. You know, Peyton Alford, Austin Kitchen, Reed Van Scooter, Danny Werchansky, Brandon Schaefer, Mason Peters, Jack White. All 7 of those options. Not also obviously Robinson Ortiz, who we just acquired. He's only 26 years old from the Dodgers. Wasn't on their major league roster in the World Series or anything, but he's a guy who, you know, we gave up a piece to get him and Luke Heyman, a catcher who we drafted, who seemed to be putting some stuff together in the minors early on. So just excited to watch the guys that we already have in spring training. But, you know, Justin Wilson's a guy who could come in and be that free agent option that begins the year on the opening day roster, or even comes in and competes for a job in spring training, who we wouldn't have to give too much money to, might be down to even compete for a job without any guarantees of making the roster, and, you know, and not get a whole lot of guaranteed money. Next one, Caleb Thielbar. I mean, he's probably going to be at the top of this list for a lot of people who are analyzing the pitching side of this. But I think he's pretty interesting. I think he can get a nice chunk of change. He's 39 again, so he probably wants to contend, you know, because he's not running off into the sunset right now. He had a pretty decent year last year. I don't have too much to say about him other than the fact that, I mean, he was with the Cubs, and with the Cubs, put up 1.1 WAR this year, pitched 58 innings, and he had a 3 ERA. So there's something there. Not sure if it's what the Mariners are going to go for, because again, he's older. The Mariners don't go for obvious options. Then you move on. You got Jalen Beeks, who's actually not quite as old as a lot of these options. He's 32. Spent 7 years in the majors already. He's not projected to put up more than .2 WAR this season, but he's had some stuff. He's moved around to some interesting organizations. He was with Arizona, who still has a need. I think he's going to get like $2 or $3 million probably, because teams are so starved and there's so little on the market for left-handed relief pitching. But with the Mariners, this is a bigger need, I'd say, than any of our fielding positions. I mean, our biggest need right now is left-handed relief pitching. And Jerry Dipoto is not just going for these obvious options, because, you know, there's far too much on the line to just go get the top guy or go get, and there really is no safe option when you're talking about 38, 39-year-olds, you know, 32, I'm calling young in this regard. So some other options that there are, Colby Allard. Colby Allard is going to be only 28, so he's probably the youngest of this group, projected for a flat, even WAR. But Colby Allard, he put up a 3.54 WAR, 65 innings pitched, 3.54 ERA or FIP, fielding independent pitching, that is. So, you know, expected to put up 3.54 ERA, independent of the fielding that actually played out for him. And in years previous, it was 4.76, 4.23, 7.87, 5.37. That's by far the lowest of his 8-year major league career. So there might be something that just got unlocked by Cleveland with Colby Allard, and the Mariners could take advantage of that, sign him in free agency. The next option, and this is one of my favorite ones, Danny Coulombe. He was actually quite good in 2025. Went from Minnesota to Texas. Minnesota, I mean, he had a 201 FIP, so that was really interesting. In Texas, didn't go so well. Only 12, so 31 innings in Minnesota, 201 FIP. You know, he was shoving. But then in Texas, right, and a 1.16 ERA, I should say. Texas, 5.25 ERA, 6.64 FIP in 12 innings. Clearly something was wrong there, but also 12 innings pitched. It's a relief pitcher, the most volatile position in all of sports. You've got to give him a little bit of benefit of the doubt. And he's 36 years old right now, but he's somebody who was pitching so well earlier in the season that I saw people projecting him to be on the USA's World Baseball Classic team out of the bullpen, in the middle of last year. Which, by the way, that WBC USA roster prediction video is coming out this week. Probably going to do it tomorrow before Thanksgiving to celebrate. But anyway, Danny Coulombe. And then the last option, which I don't think this is likely, especially considering how the playoffs went, bringing Caleb Ferguson back. If he's waiting around, into December, I mean, if he's waiting around late December, even in January, right before pitchers and catchers are about to report, I could see him coming back here. He's pretty old himself, and it's just an unlikely reunion with two sides that didn't necessarily love each other, but say, well, it's better than trying to go with something new because we've already had him here. He's only 29 years old. He's projecting to get $4 million in the offseason, but if somehow he stays around because teams look at his leverage performances with the Mariners, which were not so good, I could see that reunion kind of as a last case, just kind of a last resort for both sides. Then as far as trades go, Jojo Romero and Jose Ferrer, both with closing experience last year on their particular teams after they traded away good closers. I would prefer Ferrer. He has the ground ball stuff, and he's just an interesting pitcher. Watching him pitch, it seems like there's something there. Jojo Romero, it really feels like it's a little more crafty, so I could see some organizations liking him as well, but I don't know exactly what I'm looking at that point. Just my eyes would tell me Jose Ferrer is the most interesting option. Garrett Clevenger, I don't think we're going to go for a big trade for a secondary lefty in the bullpen like Garrett Clevenger. And then I had my crazy idea yesterday where we trade to Philly and try to get Tanner Banks. And obviously that trade that I was proposing included Harry Ford and Justin Crawford, both top prospects who absolutely mashed AAA pitching last year, two of the best hitters in the entire minor leagues. I did have one person tell me in the comments just about an hour ago, if you think Dave Dombrowski is doing that trade, then I suggest you seek help for your mental health, which this is why I say, guys, I'd love to know, I appreciate the comment, first of all, but I would love to know why I'm wrong, why I'm crazy for thinking that trade could happen, because I don't know that much about Justin Crawford or about Tanner Banks. I don't watch enough Phillies to understand that. So I would love for you to tell me, Dom, you need help with your mental health, but here's why this trade idea suggests that you need help with your mental health. And not just suggesting that and then me not knowing, are you talking about Banks? Are you talking about Crawford? Are you talking, I did kind of throw in Raley, but that's from a Mariners perspective. It makes sense to give you a left-handed outfielder when you're giving us one. So I'm not sure exactly what piece of that trade, was crazy for Dave Dombrowski to look at. I was thinking from the Mariners perspective, we don't want to give up Harry Ford, and we should almost have the leverage in that situation. But my guess is that you're saying that Justin Crawford is just that good, that talented of a hitter, where he wouldn't give him up for Harry Ford, and with Tanner Banks as the throw-in being more valuable than Luke Raley, that it doesn't make sense. But this is why I need to know why. I just don't understand. And this is what I want to do. I want to get the discussion going. So let me know, what lefty options did I miss? Which of these options do you like the most? And where do the Mariners go to get lefty help this offseason and to win the 2026 arms race? Today we covered kind of who's even available, but as I put in this thumbnail, the Mariners find righties everywhere. So we just need to get the right lefties anywhere. With that being said, I will see you guys tomorrow. Go Amps.